Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Payments Journal podcast. My name is Rimma, and I'll be your host. Last October, NCR announced that it was splitting into two independent, publicly traded companies, NCR Atleos and NCR Atleos. A short time later, there was an announcement that NCR Atleos had signed a partnership with BHMI to resell the Concourse financial software suite as part of its software portfolio. I'm excited to have Robert Johnston from NCR Atleos and Scheer from BHMI on today's podcast. We're going to be talking about these recent announcements and how they're partnering to meet the needs of customers in today's fast-changing world of payments. We also have Elisa Tavilla, Director of Debit at Javelin Strategy and Research, joining us. Robert, it's great to have you on today's show. Can you give the audience a quick introduction about yourself and your role at NCR Atleos?
Yes, thanks for having me on. Yes, I'm Robert Johnston. I work in our product marketing team at NCR Atleos. And amongst other things, I look after the authentic payments and transaction processing product family. I've been with NCR and now NCR Atleos in various marketing and sales roles for just about 20 years. And I'm based in our Dundee office in Scotland.
Thank you, Robert. I'd also like to welcome Casey. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and BHMI?
Absolutely. So my name is Scheer, and I'm the Director of Marketing at BHMI, where I'm responsible for marketing software that modernizes the payments back office. Now, to give you a little context, the back office performs the processing that needs to occur after a transaction is authorized. So this includes functions such as the completion of reconciliation and settlement, the assessment of fees and commissions, and the management of chargebacks and disputes. So I've been with BHMI for over 25 years now, and I'm based in the United States within our corporate headquarters in Omaha, Nebraska.
Thank you, Casey. It's great to have you here. And last but not least, Elisa.
Thanks, Rimma. So happy and excited to join Robert and Casey today. I'm Elisa Tavilla, Director of Debit Payments with Javelin Strategy and Research. So I lead our debit payments team covering research related to any pay now payments. That's debit cards, ATMs, real-time payments, P2P, all of the great stuff.
Thanks, Lisa. Now let's dive into today's conversation. I'd like to start by talking about the announcement on October 16th, 2023. This is where NCR announced it was splitting into two companies. Robert, can you give us a little background on this announcement and the markets NCR Atleos serves versus NCR Atleos?
Yeah, sure. The split itself happened in October of 2023, but obviously we announced that a good few months or several months before that date, so that by October we were ready to operate effectively as a separate company. NCR previously was active in a broad spread of different markets, and there was a view that we could better serve some of those markets if the company split into two more specialised operations. So that's how NCR Atleos was born, as the part of the company that was to focus on ATMs and the surrounding ecosystem. Now, within NCR Atleos, that gives us a fantastic focus and an opportunity for innovation, which probably is more powerful than we were able to do as part of the bigger company. And that's good for us and good for our customers. Being a smaller company now, we can really focus in on our core activities, and basically we can put that into three different areas. So first of all, they're what we call self-service. So that's the classic ATM hardware and software technology, which we continue to develop. There's a lot of innovation in that area at the moment, and that also has a range of support services which go along with it. So that's one of the three streams. The next stream is what we call ATM as a service, and this is a relatively new activity within the industry. There's a growing demand from customers to focus on their own banking business and not get too involved in some of the technology. So they're asking us to run their entire ATM fleet for them, a kind of outsourcing operation. That's a growing part of the business, and we've made some very good progress on that under the umbrella of ATM as a service. And then the third part of the business is our retail ATM networks. And in this operation, we own and operate the world's largest independent fleet of ATMs. And in fact, we operate and do transaction processing in various forms for up to, I think it's just over 250,000 ATMs. It's 280,000 ATMs, in fact, around the world. And so that is a significant piece of activity for us as well. So we've got those three areas of self-service, ATM as a service, and the retail ATM network.
So, Robert, based on what you've said, NCR Atleos is focused on the global ATM marketplace. Can you speak to how the ATM landscape is changing and how the technology is evolving?
Yeah, there's a lot of change going on in the market at the moment. It's quite an exciting time to be involved. And that's driven by the changing pattern in cash usage to some extent, but also changes in what customers want to do in terms of their business models. So in terms of the technology, we're seeing significant growth in demand for cash deposit and cash recycling functionality, going beyond the traditional cash dispense functions of an ATM. And many banks also are looking at the way they run their branches, what their branch strategy is. And as the numbers of bank branches reduces in most countries, banks are looking for the ATM to provide more cash, but also to provide a full range of self-service access to the type of services that you'd have got in a branch. So that would be the non-cash functions that go on in a branch counter. Also, they're looking for the ATM to mirror the functions available in their digital banking environments as well. So the ATM has to become able to offer a wide range of transactions and services way beyond cash. Now, that's easier said than done, and connectivity to systems that are outside of the conventional ATM rails is essential to achieve what banks are trying to do here. So, for example, you might want to connect to a core banking system directly in order to give consumers access to all of their accounts. They can see all of their different accounts, their loan account, mortgage account, whatever, not just the current or checking account that they normally see at an ATM. So the ATM terminal driver and the transaction processing environment behind the ATM is critical to making that possible. So our Authentic technology, our payments platform Authentic, in its various forms, can help our customers achieve that connectivity, whether it's simply connecting to the core banking system or going to the other services within the bank, or even to external services from fintechs or other providers. Authentic can do the orchestration required to be able to provide those services and deliver them to the ATM. In fact, we have one customer who's reached a stage where everything they have on their mobile banking application, they can replicate on the ATM within days of releasing it on the mobile. And that's driven by what they're able to do with the processing technology and payments technology in the background.
Thanks, Robert. Elisa, how do you view, that ATM marketplace is evolving in response to the shift in consumer behavior and these technological advancements that Robert was speaking to?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the consumer side, based on Javelin research, we've also been seeing many changes and transformations in how consumers are using ATMs and the various functions that they seek. Overall, there has been increased adoption, or the payment and banking behaviors have been trending towards more digital channels and self-service, but certainly our research has found that ATMs are still very relevant, both for traditional uses such as cash withdrawals and deposits, but also other banking transactions and services. In fact, about 3/4 of our respondents from our annual North American Payments Insight survey rated ease of finding and accessing an ATM as a top factor contributing to their level of satisfaction with the traditional bank. And there's certainly, as Robert mentioned, the closing of physical branches, in which case ATMs have come to serve more as the bank customers' primary, or in some cases only, access to physical banking services. And that is certainly something that most financial institution customers do seek. There are also new uses or new use cases around ATMs and debit, even withdrawing cash. For example, in the past few years, earned wage access, or it's become more common for employers to provide debit cards to their employees. And our Javelin research has shown that more than half of employees who receive these types of debit cards often use them to withdraw cash at ATMs multiple times a week. So it's certainly important to consider how consumers are using ATMs and the changes in their behavior. And also, as Robert noted, how financial institutions and financial services providers are changing how they operate and service their ATMs as well. Overall, it's important for financial institutions to meet their customer needs and meet them where they are, specifically around ATM usage and demand.
Thanks, Elisa. Robert, based on these changes within the ATM marketplace, how is the newly formed company of NCR Atleos meeting the needs of its clients?
Well, I think, first of all, the three key areas of activity I mentioned previously are probably our initial response to that, because as we set up the new company, we were able to align our organisation exactly to where the market's heading. So the 3 areas of activity, obviously, one of them, as I mentioned, was a self-service technology. So as I said, we're continuing to invest and innovate in that area. The other thing that's quite interesting on that front is not just the actual product development, though, is also the changing of business models as well, because what we've done over the last 4 years is we've moved our entire software business onto a subscription or software as a service model as appropriate. So the whole software operation is now on a recurring revenue model, and that actually suits our customers much, much better, because the pace at which we're bringing out new updates, new improvements to products and things is such that the old traditional perpetual license models couldn't cope with that. So development of new business models is another area where we're responding to customer demands, new customer needs. When we look at the ATM as a service activity, that's a similar thing. It's responding to what customers are expecting in the market now, what they're demanding in terms of whether or not they want to run their own ATMs and run technology as opposed to running a bank. So we're well positioned for that. And then I spoke about the retail ATM network. One of the growing trends that addresses is where banks want to perhaps expand the ATM coverage for their customers. So perhaps it's a regional bank or a local bank. They don't want to invest in a lot of technology to expand the coverage, so they can sign up to have their customers served on one of our networks, and suddenly they've got national coverage instead of just local coverage or whatever level of coverage they want. So a lot of business model innovation going on there, as well as the actual technical innovation. But I think if we start to focus back in on the Authentic platform, for example, well, what we have is a software suite at NCR Atleos, first of all, to position things and show you where Authentic fits in. We've got the NCR Atleos ATM management platform, and within that, we have the complete end-to-end software stack that you need for running an ATM. So whether it's the application that sits on the ATM and is directly accessed by the customer, right through to all the support systems, the cash management, the device management, incident management. We've got security systems, a whole range of technology and a whole range of modules that sit in the cloud and serve those ATMs. So that's our ATM management platform. And part of that is where Authentic fits in. So the transaction processing and payments element of it, that's where Authentic comes into play. And what Authentic gives us is a very scalable, very powerful, high performance transaction processing engine. And it's used today by a number of significant financial institutions and processors on mission critical operations. One of its great strengths is that it's a very agile product. We try and avoid putting people in a position where they're going to have to code anything to make a change. It's all done by configuration. We've got some really good productivity tools in there which allow very rapid adoption of new services and development of new products purely through configuration. And that's one of its key strengths, along with the fact that it's capable of very rapid, high volume transaction throughput at a sort of global scale. So we're directing a lot of investment in that direction at the moment because we see it, based on the way the ATM industry is evolving and other operations in purely the payments arena. We see that as a significant area where we need to be investing and broadening the capabilities of Authentic. So, for example, in the last couple of years, we've introduced a next generation ATM terminal handler based on Authentic technology. A lot of the traditional switch companies used to embed an ATM terminal handler with their product. A number of them are stepping back from doing that now and just not providing terminal handlers. So we're stepping in and providing one that's not just a replacement, but an actual completely new approach, new level of technology for that function. We've also recently launched a new card management system based on Authentic. So that gets us closer to having a complete end-to-end processing environment. And in summary, we're maintaining that really high-powered engine, if you like, that is Authentic, but just adding more breadth to its capabilities.
Thanks, Robert. Lisa, what are your thoughts on leveraging this type of technology to really ramp up efforts?
I think one of the benefits of technology and technological advancement is all the different options that are available, as Robert just spoke to all the different options that NCR Atleos supports, for example, whether it's a self-service in-house type option, ATM as a service, the retail ATM network. There's certainly plenty of options for financial institutions and other financial services providers to choose from. I think overall, it just depends on their own institution's needs, their resources, and being able to meet their customers' financial needs and demands. So I think what's most important is identifying what the needs are and then finding the right partner to help select the appropriate technology option and business model to meet your needs. And certainly someone like Robert and NCR Atleos would be a great resource to help identify the appropriate solution and deploy and implement the model that is most suitable for your organization and meeting your customers' needs.
Thanks, Elisa. I want to shift gears slightly and talk about the announcement about NCR Atleos signing an agreement with BHMI to resell the Concourse financial software suite. Robert, can you give a little background on this partnership between NCR Atleos and BHMI?
Yeah, sure. I talked a little bit there about how we're developing the Authentic product family and broadening its capabilities. And when you go into a development phase like that, you come up against what we call in technology companies sort of make or buy decisions. So what we look at when we decide what functionality we want to introduce in the range, we look at across the industry to see what everybody else is doing. And if we think we've got a viable path to produce a best in industry solution ourselves at a sensible cost and at a sensible time to market, then we'll build that ourselves. And so, for example, our ATM terminal handler and the Authentic card management system are examples of that. On the other hand, when we looked at the market with a view to introducing features like dispute resolution and reconciliation and fee management and so on, the things which BHMI offer, we saw that there's no way we could rival the BHMI solution. It really is the best in industry software for that purpose. So it didn't make any sense for us to attempt to build anything like that. So we approached BHMI and we established the partnership. And the good thing is that not only have we found a partner that gives us the best in industry solution, but also a partner that's a great fit for us to work with, both in terms of technology strategy and business strategy.
We've talked about Authentic for the front end, and with the addition of Concourse, NCR Atleos is offering its clients end-to-end solution for payments processing. Casey, can you explain how this looks for a company?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Rimma. So Robert has talked about Authentic. And so what I thought I would do is just start and talk about the transaction flow and how that all looks. So when a transaction is authorized by a consumer, it flows into the Authentic system for authorization. Now, as soon as a transaction is authorized by Authentic, the data from this transaction is immediately loaded into the Concourse transaction repository. It's also important to note that the corresponding data from the card network, so like Visa and MasterCard, is also automatically loaded into Concourse. And since Concourse is based on a continuous processing architecture, as soon as this data arrives in the system, it immediately begins back office processing. So this includes automatically reconciling transactions received from different data sources, assessing fees and commissions based on any transaction data elements, and creating settlement distributions and funds movement instructions. It also includes the management of the entire workflow for chargebacks and disputes. Now, I thought what we could do is I want to give you just an idea of how much is going on in the payments back office. So let's focus on what needs to happen just to settle a transaction in the back office. So to give you the example, let's say that Rimma is going to make a withdrawal from a foreign ATM. Within seconds, this transaction has already been authorized by Authentic, and by the time Rimma walks away from the ATM, Concourse has loaded the data from Authentic and determine the settlement impact of the transaction. This means Concourse has already identified which businesses are to be debited and credited and what amounts need to be settled. For each of these amounts, Concourse has also determined which settlement account and distribution are to be used and has created the funds movement instructions. Now, this continuous processing performed by Concourse is a huge advantage for financial services companies such as banks and payment processors, because it ensures they can meet strict service level agreements and reporting requirements that they have with their clients. Now, Concourse's continuous processing architecture also allows companies to have a very much needed real-time view of their transaction data. Since all transaction details are continuously loaded, companies can monitor transactions and their effects on their financial positions within seconds of the transaction being authorized by Authentic. And this is one of the main reasons why Concourse is such a great fit with Authentic. Another thing that makes Concourse such a great fit with Authentic is its configurable rules engine. Robert spent some time mentioning Authentic's agility due to its rules-based architecture. And the rules engine within Concourse gives companies the ability to add and change things within the system without ever modifying codes. For example, if a company wants to modify equivalency checks for reconciliation, change a settlement distribution, add a new fee, even change a workflow for managing of disputes, this is all done via the configurable rules engine. Again, there is no need to make code changes. So in a nutshell, Rimma, combining Concourse's continuous processing architecture and its configurable rules engine makes it an ideal back office companion with NCR Atleos' front-end Authentic system.
Thanks, Casey. Let's talk about some of the benefits this partnership between NCR Atleos and BHMI will offer. Robert, let's start with you first.
Well, I think there's a couple of areas of benefits which are fairly obvious to me. The first is for our customers, and that's the most important one. And basically, we're able to give them an expansion of the Authentic solution, new capabilities which we weren't previously able to offer them. And it would have taken a significant time to get them to market ourselves. So the partnership with BHMI is great from that point of view. Secondly, then, is just one of market coverage. We're very well known in the ATM industry, and although we've got some fairly high importance payments customers, we're not particularly well known in the payments industry. This will give us, I think, a bigger voice in that industry. And also, similarly, BHMI isn't perhaps so well known to some of our ATM customers, but again, there's a chance there that awareness will expand at BHMI. So I think from a marketing point of view, it's good for both of us as well.
Casey, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I do. I agree with everything Robert said. And also, from the beginning, our discussions with NCR Atleos, it was really clear that a joint partnership made perfect sense. For BHMI, we recognize the strengths of Authentic that Robert has highlighted during this podcast. And we also saw that combining it with Concourse would enable NCR Atleos and BHMI to offer an integrated end-to-end payment processing solution. I think one of the biggest benefits is that many front-end authorization systems hit what we call a processing bottleneck in the payments back office because most back office systems in the market today are batch-oriented. They also require time-consuming code revisions when changes are needed. This is not the case with NCR Atleos because Concourse's continuous processing architecture and its rules-based architecture ensure that it can keep up with the front-end processing of Authentic and meet NCR Authentic's clients' ever-changing needs. I will say that BHMI is truly honored to be partnering with NCR Atleos. Our joint teams have the proven experience. Both companies have been doing this for many years, which ensures our customer success will be met in this time of great change and excitement within the payments industry.
Thank you both. Before we wrap up, can you tell our audience how they can learn more?
Yeah, from the NCR Atleos perspective, I think ncratleos.com is a good place to start. Also, our social channels, we're on LinkedIn and X and others. Or if you already have a relationship with us at NCR Atleos, then your account manager is probably a good person to ask about this, and he'll be able to direct you to the right people to answer any detailed questions.
Yeah, and for BHMI, I'd invite you to visit our website at bhmi.com. And we also are very involved in the social channels, LinkedIn, X, Facebook, YouTube. So feel free to go out and take a look. And we invite you to follow BHMI on LinkedIn. We're continually giving out new news, publishing articles around the payments industry, and would love to have you follow us on LinkedIn. And please feel free to call us anytime.
Thank you all so much. I'd like to thank Robert, Casey, and Elisa for all of your insights and perspective and walking us through this evolving ATM landscape.